Okay, I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar on LiPLANET, which is the network of research guidelines for lithium battery cells, which is currently implemented and really in phase of development in Europe. So this is the ambition is really to create a network between all the active research pilot lines in Europe, and this ambition is supported by a project funded by the European Commission, which is also named LiPLANET. So we will try not to mix up everything and to distinguish between really the network and the project during the presentation today. Before going into really the content of the webinar, I would like to just give you some very practicalities about how to interact with the different speakers today. So you have in fact two opportunities to interact. One, using the chat, is really for more if you have technical questions. So please reserve the chat for questions about really the practicalities of the webinar. If really you want to share questions on the content of the presentations, please rather use the Q&A so that really all the panelists will see them, and we can really manage in a better way who is going to answer to these and so on. So just also to remind you, but I think that this was also popping up when you connected, that this session will be recorded and will be posted later on the website, on the LiPLANET website. So just to have this in mind if you share some comments. So what we want to do today is really first to give you a broad introduction about LiPLANET, what is really the ambition of this network, which is currently created in the European landscape. And this introduction will be provided by Professor Kwade, who is the coordinator of the LiPLANET project, which is now going on for 1.5 years. It was started actually on the 1st of January 2020. Then we will provide you with some important developments on what has been achieved so far by the creation of the different groups of experts which are really supporting this network. We would like also to share with you where we are in the strategic roadmap about really the milestones and that we see to really to improve and to build this network. One important task that was agreed in the project was also to put in place a round-robin test, and we will share with you the status of this ongoing process. Then we will also give the floor to one of the pilot line, which is CIC EnergiGUNE, which is not a member of the project partners, but who has joined the network already, and really to let us and to let you understand really what was the driving force for them to join this initiative. And then we will terminate this session by sharing some information about the training sessions which are currently under development, and this is a task which is led by EIT Innoenergy, and we will wrap up again with Professor Kwade. So I realized that I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Philippe Jacques. I'm the managing director of EMIRI, which is also a partner in the LiPLANET project, and EMIRI is an association, European association, who is really active in the field of advanced materials for clean energy and clean mobility. And obviously, of course, batteries materials is one of the key domains where Emery is active, and that's why we are contributing and collaborating in this LiPLANET project. So I would like now to leave the floor to Professor Kwade. Just also before leaving him the floor, just to remind you that what we want to do is to go with about 10-12 minutes of presentations by each of the speakers, and we will try to keep 2 or 3 minutes for questions. So don't hesitate to raise your questions during the presentations if you have any, and we will try to answer them after every presentation. Professor Kwade, the floor is yours now. You have to. I will stop sharing my screen, and please share yours.
Thank you, Philippe, and good morning, everybody. I have to wait until...
Yeah, that's it.
No, I can start. So now you should see my screen. Yeah, good morning, and I'm really happy that so many people joined our webinar today to explain what is LiPLANET about and what we can do for the European ecosystem. So my name is Arno Kwade. I'm a professor here at the Technische Universität Braunschweig, so University of Technology, and we are operating a pilot line for battery cells, and that's why we are here also in this LiPLANET network and the LiPLANET project. So as Philip said already, we have to distinguish between the project and the network. So in the moment we have this, both is running. So first of all, we started with the LiPLANET project. So it's a CSA funded by the European Union. And in this consortium, we had 8 partners, which are written here. So besides the pilot line, it's also the Innoenergy, which will also have a presentation today. It's the VDE-IT, which is also giving a presentation, and Imari, what Philippe is already telling you, and then 5 pilot lines. And based on this project and let's say the preliminary work, we now founded the LiPLANET network. That was done not last month, but the month before in May. And this network then will really connect all the research and development pilot lines around Europe. And the main reason or the main purpose is that we want to develop the knowledge and be the backbone for the European battery industry. And doing this by increasing the competencies, by investigating all the value chains, and also developing or providing unique selling propositions. So that's why I think we are here. And maybe a short time scale. So the first discussions about this network started in 2018. It was on a meeting in Brussels. And then we had a workshop in the summer in Frankfurt with all the different pilot lines, but also a lot of people from industry, and discussed how we can improve, the European development on the battery cell production. And so by that, we come up with this idea of the network, and we had the chance to apply for this CSA project, and which started then in January 2020. And so we had first, developments, and then first presentations of our network. There was also some awareness workshop in between, and then we started the expert groups, which will be explained in the next presentation. And since May, we are really an association with, in the moment, 9 members, but I hope that we can increase that by let's say end of the summer by maybe up to 15, and hopefully maybe today there are more possible members for our network. So what is our network doing? Or it's a little bit, what is the project and the network doing? So it's a little bit mixed up. What we did at the beginning was, for example, we mapped the European research and development pilot lines as far as we knew them, and they took part in our questionnaire. And we decided also that we have full members. They have to have a full pilot line, and otherwise they are associate members if they just develop their pilot line or work on that in a certain direction. Then what we also did is we identified skills and equipment gaps here in Europe, so which we should work on, so to close these gaps. And what is also a presentation today by Roman is we started to develop a roadmap for the network, for the pilot lines, and not alone with the pilot lines, also together with industry players from our advisory board, for example. And then we also promoted data and knowledge exchange possibilities and work this out, because I think that's a very important point of the network, that we have a good connection to all the different other pilot lines, and that we share knowledge. Also, we want to provide training materials to have really professional training tools which can be used by all the different pilot lines, have a standardized legal framework for the network members, maybe also for cooperation with material suppliers and so on, promoting network activities like the expert groups, also talking to the European Union and the Commission about the role of the pilot lines in the future and the future calls especially. We are fulfilling this road robin test, what will be explained by Katja later on. And also we have a look on what is able, or what are the different pilot lines are able to do in the moment. And based on this project, and now we are coming to the network, what Philipp already said, this is a network, and the founding members were these 8. So beside the organizations which are in the project, like Braunschweig, like ABEE, like CIC in France, CDTech in Spain, and AIT, we now have also the CIC EnergiGUNE in our network. There will be also a presentation today, and the ZSW in Germany and the Fraunhofer ISIT in Germany. But as I said, also now we have one from Great Britain in our network, and it will grow, I'm sure. So it takes a little bit time also because of the paperwork, what is related to being a member of the network. And our association, so the LiPLANET network, has an executive board. I'm the chairman also of this board, and working especially together with the EU and industrial partners, so have a lot of communication with others. Beside me, and the second chairman, it's Simon Perrault from CIA LI10. I think he is well known in Europe for different work he is doing. Then it's Esther Belitz. She will also give a presentation today. She is responsible for the communication within our network, and for the expert groups, which will be explained in the next presentation. Marcos Jan is responsible, and then we have Raoul, who is looking for our finances. But we all look for the, I think, future development and of the network, and it will, let's say, bloom, hopefully also with your help. And I'm really positive regarding the future of our network. And that's the end of my presentation, and now I'm open for questions. As Philipp said, so we have about 5 minutes maybe for questions before we go to the next presentation.
Thank you very much, Arno. And we have one question in the Q&A from Jeroen Büscher from Vito in Belgium, who is asking, is the LiPLANET also working on a blueprint for possible new pilot lines?
It's a good point. So we are working, let's say, on best practices in the pilot lines. And I mean, these best practices maybe can be at the end for a blueprint. So it's not on the schedule in the moment, but I guess we could, it's a good idea to have this in mind for the future, to work on something like a blueprint. Yeah. So at least what we want to do is we want to develop something like standards, or let's say at least best practice suggestions regarding how to operate certain processes, how to operate certain measurement equipment, which are the best sensors for digitalization and so on. And also, let's say, doing something like mapping the different process steps and also possible machinery. So I think, and this at the end can go into a blueprint, something like that. But I think everybody has to decide about what he wants to do with the pilot line. So I think there will be not one pilot line. And that is, I think, also a very interesting point in our networks, that each pilot line usually has different tasks, or also different possibilities, so that, you know, we have an addition of different competencies also by the different pilot lines.
Another question from, well, unfortunately, the user is not identifiable when we see the way connected, but which is also very important, which is about what are the conditions to become a member? Can everyone be a member of LiPLANET? Can you elaborate a little bit on that one?
Yes, sure. And the condition is that you have a pilot line which goes from the raw material, that means cathode and anode powder and so on, to a full cell, which is really, and this should be done in an almost automated way, at least every process step, so that the let's say, production of the cells is reproducible. So that is the main what is the main need, you know, or requirement. And if this is the case, then you can get full member. Otherwise, if you have only parts of this line, let's say, then you are then can get an associated member. But everybody, for example, can join the expert groups, so which is a very important part of the network. So there's no requirement.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, and just to complement, there was a second part in this question. Is there any group to subscribe to receive updates? Please have a look at the LiPLANET website, where you have the possibility to subscribe to receive the newsletter, and so to really to be kept up to date on everything which is organized by the network. Two other questions which are strongly related. One from Stefan Gerl. Industrial pilot lines like at BCCC from BMW and planned new pilot lines part of the network are invited as well. And another one from Gerhard Erpel. Why don't you include the industrial pilot lines? So that's something we discussed already quite a lot, so please.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So maybe one addition to what Philippe just said, also in the on the internet page, you can find a questionnaire. So if you are not listed as a pilot line by our project, at least, then you can you know, use the questionnaire, and then you will be, you know, in this list. And regarding industrial pilot lines, yes, we also have them in our questionnaire. So some also took part, like custom cells, like even Northvolt, for example. And but let's say, to be a member, I think the problem was we talked to the industrial lines, but you know, they have to have a certain openness, you know, because we want to exchange knowledge on a certain level, and for that we have also a cooperation agreement, and so you have to be a little bit open, you know, to share also knowledge. But if you want to have, you know, this knowledge flow, let's say, in only one direction, then I think it's a problem. Yeah? So then to be a full member of the network, but we are really working together with this also industrial lines, but in the moment, they are not open enough to be full member in the network, but maybe it will change, we will see.
But they are also, there is an advisory board where we have also industrial members who are really active in LiPLANET indeed.
Absolutely, that's a good point. Yeah. Also BMW, for example, and custom cells. Yeah.
So I think we would love to have them on board, but indeed, like Arno mentioned, one of the issues is, of course, how to manage the flow of confidential information, and that really is fully understandable. But so we still have to work on that also, how to possibly integrate industrial pilot lines. We would really be happy to achieve this in a way or another. Okay, thank you very much, Arno. I think it's time now to move to the next talk. So I will now leave the floor to Konrad Bendzuck, who will introduce a little bit the work of the different expert groups that have been launched in the last months. Konrad, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, hello also from my side. As said before, my name is Konrad Bendzuck. I am also working for the Technische Universität of Braunschweig, the same as Mr. Kwade. And I would like to tell you something about the LiPLANET expert groups. It is a lot, so I will try to put most of it into this presentation. So let's see. Before I go into detail about the structure of the groups, I would like to tell you something about the actual purpose of these groups. So within the LiPLANET network, the expert groups will be the main discussion platform. So basically, they are groups of experts that come together to work on topic-specific work. Well, and within the network, there is a total of 6 expert groups currently running, which you can see on the right, which are education and training, scientific exchange and round robin, digitalization, measurement methods and quality, production technology and sustainability, cell design and recyclability, and materials processing and safety. And these groups will foster, concentrate, and structure the exchange between the network members regarding relevant issues. What these relevant issues are, I will go into detail about in a minute. However, all of these groups will develop standards and operation procedures for the operation of pilot lines and maybe later on even large production facilities, and look at the reproducibility of characterization of electrodes and cells. These groups will also tackle short and long-term goals that will both benefit the group members, the network, and also, if possible, the whole European battery community. Also, if there are outside stakeholders with specialized requests, with which they, for example, approach the executive board, they can be directed to a fitting expert groups where they can be helped. Then on the structure of the groups, as I said before, an expert group is basically a group of persons from both the network and outside stakeholders that come together on a regular basis to do topic-specific work, and each group is hosted by a chair. This chair is a person from within this group which is appointed, and this person steers the group in suitable directions. It hosts the regular events, and what is also important, stays in close contact with the other expert group chairs to make sure that there is inter-topic exchange and that they can spot early on possibilities for collaboration with 2, 3, or even more expert groups. Yeah, these briefings are foreseen on a regular basis, and it's also foreseen that the executive board is included in these meetings to make sure that the goals of the expert groups are aligned with the goals of the network. The groups themselves meet on a regular basis, which is for most groups currently once a month for an hour. Yes. On the right-hand side, you can see where the groups are located within the network. So as I said, the groups are made up out of the network members and external stakeholders and stay in close contact with the executive board. Then I would like to take the chance to present to you the individual expert group chairs and only a small excerpt of the topics that they will look at. So each group has a vast compendium of topics. So what you can see there is only a small excerpt, and I will try to bring to you what these groups are actually about. So let me start off with the first group, which is Materials Processing and Safety, which is chaired by Dr. Alice Hoffmann from the ZSW. So this group has currently put the focus on safety in materials processing. So only the process until the finished product, and currently not the safety aspect of the finished product itself. So it will look at the safety in materials processing while keeping the safety regulations on national and EU level in mind and take measures to fulfill them. And with new emerging technologies and cell procedures, the safety aspect is of special importance, especially in a pilot line environment. The next group is then Production Technology and Sustainability, which is chaired by Dr. Philippe Cerdas from our own university, the TU Braunschweig. And this group is kind of about getting an understanding about the environmental impacts of new processes and new chemistries, for example, and then assessing them through life cycle assessments. Yes. And also looking into what kind of data has to be taken in what way to actually be able to perform good life cycle assessments. Then if we have a look at the next group, which is Digitalization, Measurement Methods and Quality, which is chaired by Professor Alejandro A. Franco. This has multiple focuses, and one focus of this is data standardization, be it in publications or for in and offline measurement methods, or even the interfaces between different software solutions, so that there are standards for different softwares that they can actually intertwine and work together. And it also focuses on different modeling approaches that are needed for later on, for example, the implementation of digital twins. Then we've got 3 groups left, and the next one is Education and Training, which is chaired by Mr. Jan Verbecken from the CIC Innoenergy. And this group focuses on the dire need of trained personnel in the future battery production, which is definitely there. So there is basically no way around the education and training aspect. This group will look into the training courses and studies which are already there and the new ones that are to come, and will make sure that the intended learning outcomes of these courses actually do match the needs of research and industry. And even in the long run, within this group, they will be able to develop their own courses with the implementation within our pilot line facilities, so that new personnel can learn directly in the pilot lines with first-hand experience. The next group is then Cell Design and Recyclability, which is chaired by Mr. Rajapandyan Rajagopal from the Avesta Battery and Energy Engineering Group. Sorry. And with the ever so scarce raw materials and the new ecological regulations, for example, on recyclability of cells, it is important to have the recycling and the end of life already in mind when designing and producing the cell. So this group will focus on this designing aspects of new cells to ensure a smooth recycling process in the end, and will also focus on the actual recycling process in the end. So for example, there will be done a mapping of pilot line facilities, recycling facilities that are currently already in production in Europe. And the 6th group is on scientific exchange and round robin, hosted by Mr. Roman Korzynietz from the VDE. And since the exchange of knowledge is crucial for European scientific community to grow closer and thus grow stronger. So, but in order for collaboration and to happen on a, let's say, level playing field, there have to be certain standards and protocols implemented and thought about. And this is mostly what this group is about. So it will act in close collaboration with all the other groups and think about protocols and standardizations. And a perfect example for this is, for example, the round robin protocol, which will be explained also later on. So I think I've given you now a only very brief overview about groups that are currently in place. And since we've got only very little time, I would like to take the chance to dive a little bit deeper in only one group. So I've taken digitalization, measurement methods, and quality, which is chaired, as I said, by Professor Alejandro Franco from the Université Picardie in northern France. So this group has a set of goals in mind that will be implemented over the course of the next month and year and potential years to come after. For example, which is the data manufacturing, standardization, and how to report data and publications to ensure reproducibility. This is basically that in publication, oftentimes crucial information is missing, which is needed to replicate the experiment. So within this group, we will develop a sort of checkup list that you can make sure that all the relevant data is in your publication. And it will also look into the sensors and automatic quality characterization, which also goes in the same way of data standardization, that there is a certain quality in sensors. We will also try to set up in this group a common pool of manufacturing data, which is needed as a basis for advanced machine learning implementations, so that everyone can have a start with a common pool of data. And as I said before, on the standardization of digital tools, this group will make sure that the tools that are there for battery manufacturing can be able to work together. And this group will also try to set up a sort of app store for tools for the battery production. And how will we implement this? Since there is a meeting once a month within this group will divide it into subgroups, as some number of groups is listed there, which is, for example, the data specs for the data that is needed in publications, one group for the computational tools, as in the implementation of the App Store. All the groups will work together in a roadmap for the implementation of these prestigious goals. Yes, and they will also look into the standards. And yeah, I hope I've given you a brief overview about the groups. That was it from my side. And now I'm open to your questions.
Thank you very much, Konrad. Well, we don't have very specific questions on the work of the expert group, but we got one interesting question, which is really addressed to all of the panelists, which relates to the possible issue with the supply of critical raw materials. And so I read it. It's from Hugh Sharman. Many mining experts are presently concerned by the rapid growth of demand for lithium, cobalt, and nickel, and the apparently growing risk of a shortage of metal supply by as early of 2025-27. These concerns are highlighted by China's present domination of mining and refining of these metals as the supply shrinks. What are the panelists' views on the security of supply? I'm not sure this is really at the core of the activities of LiPLANET, but indeed it's one important concern. So I don't know if you have a comment on this one, or maybe Arno also, or any from the people from the panel who would like to comment on this. Otherwise, there is one interesting one very interesting document that was issued by Bloomberg NEF. I think it was earlier this week or last week, which is actually addressing this this topic, and which is quite let's say positive on the fact that we should be able to deal with the supply requirements. So I will post the link to this report in the chat for everybody. So if you have not yet read this one, I really encourage you to have a look at it. It's really a very interesting report on EV electrification.
Maybe I can give a short comment, but I think we are not experts in where to get the materials shortages. But what I know that the big material suppliers or producers and suppliers, that they have contracts, you know, to different sites, and they also produce here, have some productions in Europe. But yeah, depending on how fast, you know, the production of cells is rising, I think cannot be excluded that there might be a shortage. But I know that I think a lot of companies are really hard working on getting enough raw materials and having contracts regarding that. But I think that must be asked to other companies. Yeah.
Perhaps one last comment. In VDE-IT, we just yesterday released a new research paper on sustainability of battery cells, and this is also part of the topic there. And we are, well, the time frame mentioned by you is really rather short. Accompanying issues are that still new sources are found, the technology evolves, and actually also the LiPLANET network and the pilot line members are going to support the sustainability of the battery cell technology by reducing further and further the amount of cobalt, for example, in the battery technologies. And so it's a manifold answer, but there will be ways to deal with this.
Yeah, that was also the conclusions from Bloomberg, really, to say that by the fact that we will have different technologies, different chemistries, and also by all the efforts about the recycling, they were quite optimistic that the market will be able to support the shock and really what will be needed. Okay, another question, which is also fully understandable, is how are LiPLANET activities linked to the EBA and the Global Battery Alliance? Arno, maybe this one is for you.
I'm not sure if I am the perfect person for that. Maybe you can answer it better. I mean, yeah, I think we are more or less part, you know, of this European battery ecosystem, and we are working together with a lot of members of this alliance, and also in our advisory board are members of the alliance, so that, you know, we have a close connection. And also regarding the partnership, and I think that maybe Philippe can say, we are also, you know, maybe in the future, we are also a member of it, but we will have at least a very close connection to the partnership. So we want to be a fixed part, let's say, of the European battery organizational system, let's say. And by that, we have good connections to these different organizational organizations in Europe. But maybe Philipp, you can also.
Yeah, well, I think we would need maybe 1 hour just to explain a little bit about all the initiatives in the battery European ecosystem, which are really different pieces of the same puzzle. And for sure, I would say that the European Battery Alliance is really the overarching, let's say, more at policy level scale, really the initiative which is coordinating all the different actions which are launched at by different levels, so the Global Battery Alliance is even broader because this one is worldwide. So we have no direct connection with the Global Battery Alliance. We have, for sure, a lot of connections with the EBA, especially also because Innoenergy is part of the LiPLANET project, and we are just contributing, really bringing our small contribution to achieve the global goals, political goals that have been assigned to the European Battery Alliance, really to build this battery industry in Europe and supporting this battery industry in Europe. So that's our contribution to this. I'm afraid we will have to move now, but there is another question which is really for you, Konrad, which is what is the link between the expert groups and the member pilot lines? So it's coming from Aude Pélisson Shaker from CIC, and she says, if I understood it well, the expert groups are open to all experts, no matter if the organization have a pilot line. Do the group make the 10 recommendation on next test performed in the pilot lines? If you can answer this one quickly, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Let me try real quick. Well, the link between the expert groups and the member pilot lines is that the member pilot lines are represented with their experts in the expert groups. But it is true that also outside stakeholders can be invited to the groups, since there are overlapping interests. For example, in the recycling group, it would be beneficial for everyone to have also personnel from recycling sites in place. So that is why we have opened it also to external stakeholders. Now the question is gone. What was this third?
You can find it in
the recommendations. Yeah, this might be so. I mean, in the end, the pilot lines themselves will decide about which tests to perform, but some groundwork, yeah, can definitely be done within the expert groups, and then recommendations can be phrased.
Thank you.
And maybe I can add that we will, I think, for sure going on with round robin tests, so that we will have then other maybe also characterization comparisons and so on within the pilot lines. And I think the one from Roman, for example, will think about what will be done in the pilot lines, or what we should do. So if you get a member of this expert groups, then you can also have a discussion within or with all our network members about that.
I think that's a very good transition. With the next talk will be Roman who will share with us really the milestones along the way regarding the strategic roadmap for the LiPLANET network. So Roman.
Thank you, Philippe. Yeah, well, as already mentioned, I'm Roman Korzynietz from VDE-IT. I'm going to present you the strategic roadmap and the ideas for the actions the LiPLANET network is going to take during the following years in order to continuously grow and support the European battery ecosystem. And Arno already started the explanation. Oops, sorry. Arno already started the explanation on the why this network was founded, what's the goal behind it, what's the idea behind everything. So in the vision we developed together for 2030, we specified the LiPLANET shall be one of the pillars of the European battery ecosystem, bringing together, serving and working with academia, and research lines on one side, with the authorities, the European Commission, but also the national member states of the European Union, and with the industry, with the different cell manufacturing lines, which are at the moment under development and construction, and some already started. So LiPLANET network will help the pilot lines to couple with the ever-growing requirements on sustainability, on production quality, digitization, circular economy, and will be the bridge to shall be a bridge to accelerate the innovation and knowledge flow from research to industry, and support also the testing, verification, and safety, quality, and control. So, as I said, one-stop shop, focus on collaboration, education measures, training workforce. For the years to come, this is actually one of the main challenges, which was identified that in the, even though highly automated cell manufacturing lines, workforce will be missing, or there has to be a transition from the traditional industry towards the battery cell manufacturing. The knowledge transfer is already mentioned by Philippe and Arno. Testing and validation and certification of new technologies, of product equipment, and obviously the pilot scale production also in larger amounts if required, perhaps by a cooperation of several of the pilot lines together. So to sum it up, LiPLANET is going to empower the development and upscaling of innovative, sustainable, and competitive lithium battery cells and process equipment in Europe. And with this as a short starting point, I'm coming to the roadmaps and milestones we identified on this way towards 2030. So we settled 3 milestones towards the vision in 2023, 26, and 30. And the ones who are mainly going to work to make the pieces happen of the LiPLANET actions are obviously the member pilot lines, the executive board, and as you can see, remember the pictograms at the bottom. These are the expert groups which were already mentioned by Konrad. And during the development process of the roadmap, after analyzing the status quo, the gaps and challenges, we summed it up to 6 key factors which have to be developed and extended along the following years. And these are the network coordination, obviously, which is mainly a role for the executive board, technology containing also the production equipment, cell technology, etc. The data exchange is an important part of the information transfer from an IT focus, the knowledge exchange also towards academia, industry, etc. Education, as I already mentioned, and certification and standardization as key components at the moment. There's a vast variety. LiPLANET is not going to do this all by itself, but through the support, through the collaboration with the members, and work together with the authorities, industry, and academia, we're going to support this development and to reach standardization and increased safety where possible. So for the milestone 2023, this shows also a little bit the story of the European battery industry over the next 10 years. At the moment, as I already mentioned, several pilot lines are built up and several industry lines. So the first step, the scientific support for the buildup of these lines, with recommendations on production techniques, equipment, identifying challenges and requirements, also expansion of the members of the LiPLANET network. These are pieces which shall be achieved by the milestone 2023. And as very important points, the training and open collaboration between the pilot lines shall be boosted. For 2026, we see the LiPLANET already as a lighthouse of the European battery ecosystem, with the facilitating of safe and sustainable battery cell production. The European battery production is then in a startup phase, with a couple of plants already running. So there will be different requirements, different services asked for. The network is then totally established with a large amount of pilot lines, directly collaborating or indirectly cooperating, and trained workforce through the supported education programs with universities, etc., shall become available. And for 2023, we already see the industrial battery cell production as an ongoing topic. There will be new technologies which have to be implemented, new new production lines which have to be developed with the new technologies or modified. A clear focus on the circular economy, also to avoid what was mentioned before, the total dependency on the import of new resources. So by having the highest possible recycling rates in the battery cells, these are points which can be supported by the pilot lines, which can be tested, how the recycled battery materials will work in new battery cells, or can it be used in a different way, how new production equipment and digitization can support the production lines. These are points which are already started on the way, but until 2030, we hope that we really have this established and approved. So as a brief overview and outlook, here you can see the entire roadmap structure as a scheme. We have the key factors, we have the milestones and the LiPLANET guiding towards the LiPLANET vision. And in between, we have the specific actions. We already identified these actions in a first round with the first members also of the external advisory board and the expert groups. At the moment, we are working on the collection and structuring of the actions along the road. And then in next quarter, we're going to share and discuss the actual results of the roadmap draft in order to validate it together with the community. And until the end of the year, we're planning to finalize the first version of the roadmap, which is obviously a living document, which in the following years we will see how the battery ecosystem is developing with the support of LiPLANET, how different aspects will fall into place in order to keep a sustainable and continuously growing roadmap and LiPLANET network feasible. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and please feel free to ask questions or to contact me. Some of the points we just mentioned are going to be presented a little bit more specific now in the following presentations regarding round robin, etc., and challenges. And regarding your question on the sustainability document, unfortunately, this one is only in German. Perhaps I forgot to mention. You can find it on the VDE-IT website, but we are also going to share it. It's already shared in LinkedIn and other sources. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Roman. So we have another question from Roberto Nazi, who is asking how the technological sharing and the market competition can be merged.
Between the pilot lines, this is...
Well, yeah, please.
Well, if you want to start to answer, Philippe, feel free.
No. I don't. I was just really a little bit struggling with the question, so I don't know if you have
obviously
it,
that. As always, it's just a brief question. We can have a longer discussion about it. Also, the pilot lines are, well, even though carrying out research and also still receiving funding from time to time, but also already working a lot with private initiatives, with industry or with universities, etc. So there is background IP and there is private knowledge in the pilot lines, which is not ideally shared to everybody. But lessons learned and as much as possible, a culture of open sharing and the collaboration, also exchange programs between technicians working from time to time in one pilot line, for example, in Braunschweig, and then at another time working in Cedetic for half a year, to transfer knowledge, to transfer experiences, which will help all the pilot lines, a little bit like you can see it in the carpenters who are traveling around Europe to learn and distribute the knowledge in the company. So this is part of the idea we have there. Without reducing the possibilities of the individual pilot lines to be in the market, to be competitive. So in the end, they shall all grow together and be supported together. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we still have 2, 3 now other questions. One is from Stefano Saguati from Mans. Roman, how can we link LiPLANET activities with you, but in IPCEI project? Do you have any suggestion? Very interesting one.
The IPCEI projects, which are all over Europe, and there are more than 60 projects now ongoing, they have also a strong focus on obviously the battery cell development and the whole development of the sustainable aspects, and to develop the whole value chain in Europe. And there are more than enough pieces where the pilot lines can directly work together with them. I know that in some of these projects, it was already planned by the industrial partners there to work together with pilot lines. And there is a strong focus also on spillover and collaboration. So there will be, over the following years, a neat interaction between them.
Yeah, and there is a very close questions from Elke Pippenbring asking how do you plan to collaborate with some of the pilots who are already organized through this IPCEI project consortium? But I think that you already tackled this one also.
Yeah, and actually it's not the same. You should, the pilot lines who are listening, you should be for your own benefit and for the benefit of the European ecosystem, be part of the LiPLANET network, and nevertheless participate in these IPCEI projects. Okay.
I propose to move to the next. Thank you very much, Roman. I propose to move to the next speaker, who will be Katja Fröhlich from IT, who will present a little bit where we are regarding the process standardization for research pilot lines, so especially addressing the round robin test, which is currently ongoing. Katja?
Thank you very much. Hello also from my side. My name is Katja Fröhlich. I'm Senior Research Engineer at AIT, Austrian Institute of Technology, and I'm responsible for the research pilot line. I will show you now a bit of our way towards standardization of the production processes. If it goes to support the market access of the European battery cell production, we were thinking about how to strengthen the European position in such a competitive field. And our vision was there that we can succeed in sustainability as well as in terms of the quality in the cell production processes. So these are the two main factors that were for us the most influential internationally. But how can we ensure and retain the high quality in terms of the cell production and the individual processes? We have to define precisely the production processes and also do work towards the standardization of the processes themselves. So that's what we were aiming for. We started to conduct a round-robin test, set the protocol, and thought about what does this mean for the cell production and cell manufacturing itself. So the definition says that it is like a basic method for the determination of the reproducibility and also reproducibility. It's of a standard method, or in this case, the cell production itself. But what does it mean for the cell production itself? Which of the process parameters can be considered critical, and which kind of tolerances are acceptable for us as a network and also for the pilot lines themselves. Also then, of course, in the end, which is very important, how can we use and how can we share the data that is generated in a non-competitive way? So I would like to invite you at this point to go to menti.com and use the code 93895060 and state your opinion on the process parameters that are critical in prototype cell production. I will give you some examples of process and also the parameters that are there. For example, if we have the different, if you have a look at the different production processes, we have the material inspection. There are different purities also depending on the synthesis method and also depending on the precursors that are used. Also, the humidity of the raw materials is quite important. If we look at the slurry mixing, we have the compositions, even the order of all the individual components can have influence on the final coating, electrode, or prototype cell. And we have the coating, we have the thickness, the speed, the temperature, the drying parameters, also the compacting, we all know plays a very important role in terms of rate capability, for example, and also high rate capability. The temperature, the pressure, also the stacking, if stacking is for the cell format even necessary. And then we have also the electrolyte filling, which is done several steps, which type of electrolyte is used, in which composition, different cycles of the addition, the vacuum, and also then in the end, the C rate at the formation, how long the formation process will take, how long we have the rest step, pressure, temperature, and so on. So again, I would like to know also your opinion. I will share that from menti.com with this use at the end of this presentation. But first, I will show you here the process parameters and the tolerances that we have set ourselves. For example, viscosity, which we know is for the coating itself, very important. We have set as tolerance of 5%. Also the thickness after coating and after calendaring, we have here 3 and 1 micrometer respectively. The stacking itself, the thickness parameter, or also we were talking about the alignment, for example, but how is it the alignment like really always measured in the process? And if, how could we measure it? And how can we share this information? Also the formation process itself, we decided to set those tolerances at around 2% for the OCV, also for the cell capacity, and we will determine the resistance of the prototype cells in the test with around 8%, because this is one of the parameters we stated that is somehow also has a bit of higher tolerances compared to the others. The next step or the next thing would be, of course, which main active materials are we using? We know that material supplies often, especially for pilot lines, can be a bottleneck because you have large material suppliers and you sometimes need smaller quantities compared to a gigafactory, for example. So we decided that we should take here some non-competitive materials and also compositions, and also to see how the other components influence the whole cell performance. For example, we have decided that we will take the same batch of all the active materials and also of the electrolyte, of course. And then for all the other materials, we will stick to the materials that the pilot lines have in stock for themselves. For the protocol, and we suggested the protocol for the formation and the capacity determination, we will have the climate chambers at 25 degrees C, so room temperature. We also were thinking about which size or format would be comparable for us. And there we concluded that 10 cathodes, we will stick to the cathodes rather than the cell capacity. So the number of cathodes will be crucial here. And we will make 10 pouches and or cylindrical cells, depending on the capabilities of the line. And we will have 2 cycles formation. And then we will do the capacity determination in the 3rd discharge cycle, and also resistance determination, which will be performed in a pulse after the capacity determination. So at the moment, this is where we are standing here. And also the tests are already conducted. So we have frozen the protocol. And by end of July and latest at the ABEF conference by end of August, we will present the mask results and share it within the network and also the community. So I'm interested, I hope that I sparked your interest in the results. I hope that you can also join, and we'll also check the reproducibility and get involved into the LiPLANET network, and also conduct the round-robin tests in your lines. Just to sum up a bit, we have in Vienna, our research pilot line facilities. What you see here is a single sheet stacker. This is also quite different to the usual set folding. And we're also interested in how this can influence the final prototype cell performance. And I hope that you can join for the round robin test, because this was our initial testing where we will further continue when a new network member will join. And I hope you can stay in contact, and I'm ready for your questions. And I'm also happy that our next speaker actually is coming from a new research, is from CIC, so a new research pilot line member that will be the next to join for the round robin test. I will share the results of the Menti after your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Katja. I don't know, are you ready to share the results of Mentimeter now, or do you need some time?
Yes, I can share it now. Yes, here. So, okay.
We don't have specific questions on.
Okay. So you can see now that actually it's the formation process and the stacking process seems to be mentioned mainly by the audience. Also thickness or mixing. I also see that these are some of the really critical parameters. So obviously the electrochemical testing itself, which is luckily a data that is generated during the round robin test continuously and on every line. We will have really a critical process moderator here that we can share them in a mask way.
Okay, thank you. So we got a question from Stefan Gerl, who is asking, how do you make sure that the pilot lines are operating with the same technology as the gigafactories which are planned today? So for example, regarding mixing technology, for mixing technology, the traditional technology used in the past, like planetary mixers, are not state of the art anymore. So how do you deal with that?
I think that this is something that adds extra value actually in the test, because we can compare on the different I don't know, different levels, I would say, of technologies that are in the research pilot lines, but also in all the attendant lines. So if we have the knowledge that who is using which kind of technology, we have also the possibility to compare here really and add an extra value on this kind of knowledge.
Okay.
Maybe I can add.
Yeah, please.
Also, I think able in the pilot lines to try out or really to investigate also really new technology, which is not in the giga lines up to now. So for example, extrusion that was not installed in a giga line at first, it was installed in pilot lines. So I think that's a great advantage we have to be a fast mover in this way, you know, to have this technology first, but we have to have a look for sure what is then coming up in the giga lines. You know?
Okay, I'm afraid we are running a little bit behind schedule, so I propose that we move to the next presentation, which is by Aitor Villaverde from CIC EnergiGUNE. Really, who is, so as we explained, who is CIC EnergiGUNE joined the network recently, and so really the idea was to get Aitor explaining really what the expectations are from being part in the LiPLANET network. So Aitor, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you. This is Aitor from CIC EnergiGUNE, and it's a pleasure for me to become part of the LiPLANET network. First of all, to explain a little bit the expectation from the point of view of the pilot plan, I would like to explain a little bit what CIC is, what we can or how can we support the network, and why it is interesting for us to become part of this network. CIC is located in Spain, in the north of Spain. It's a non-profit private foundation, and is developed for excellence applied research, especially for energy storage, both thermal and electrochemistry. It was born 10 years ago, and nowadays is part of the BRTA, the Basque Research and Technology Alliance. And we are more than 140 researchers with different nationalities, and we have a pilot line for battery manufacturing. By the way, CIC means Centro Investigación Cooperativa, which translation is Cooperative Investigation Center, which is in our DNA, the cooperation between different scientific technological stakeholders. CIC EnergiGUNE is composed by different expertise groups. One is the cell prototyping, which I belong to, and I'm in charge of leading the pilot line. But also behind us, there is different groups from the materials, raw materials, electrode materials, electrolytes materials, and also atomistic modeling and computational simulation, and the battery postmortem and etching. All of the groups are developed to support different researchers and technologies from industry, from other technology centers, and from academia, and also for different research line, like could be methyl air, lithium or sodium air, sodium-based batteries, ceramic polymer, polymer-rich electrolytes, lithium sulfur, and different technologies. So one of the purpose of this pilot plan is to be as flexible as possible and to deal with many different quantity of materials, because one issue when people is developing material is the amount of it, and sometimes it's very difficult to run a pilot line or a prototyping line with a very few amount of material. So the idea of our pilot plan was to run it with a really low quantity of material, and also can scale up to pre-industrial level, so we can support many of the players in the battery manufacturing. Our pilot plan is inside a dry room of -60 dew point, which is more or less 10 ppm of water content. It's around 55 square meters, and we keep it a dry environment, just with a high overpressure to avoid external air inside. And this solution means that we can deal with many different technologies, not at the same time, sometimes because of the cross-contamination issues, but we can adjust the calendaring on the platform to deal with different technologies, and also sometimes they require a very dry environment from the very beginning of the process, even from the mixing process. So we decided to fulfill all these flexibility issues and requirements to include everything inside the dry room. And this is how we do the classical pouch cell manufacturing process internally in the dry room. From the mixing and coating, we can do both in a doctor plate as a lab scale, and also in a roll-to-roll system. Both sides also can be coated inside the dry room. Also calendaring and adjusting of the porosity, and all the cell assembly of a pouch cell. In our case, one standard dimension is around 20 centimeters square pouch cell, which depending on the composition of the electrodes, could be around 1 ampere-hour cell. This is the reason of having this small pouch cell, is to deal with new materials development, when, as I was mentioning before, sometimes the amount of material is low, and we need to deal with it to propose a final device dealing with it. We also can manufacture bigger pouch cells, and the limitation is regarding the width of the coating line, which is 250 millimeters. But the standard measurement or the geometry of our cells is something around 20 centimeters square cathode layer. Last days, or in the last time, we include extrusion process, as it was mentioning before, because we were seeing that continuous extrusion, especially for solid electrolyte and solid state batteries, is a must. And we are focusing now in this development mainly for polymer reeds or composite in a full roll-to-roll system and extrusion, but also applying to the electrodes manufacturing, which can reduce not completely but almost the amount of solvent. And we think that it could be also be very helpful for supporting the network and the pilot plants. And we have a twin screw extruder for mixing, and we can mix in also in pre-mixing solid content, and then different feeders, main feeder and side feeders, and with a volumetric control of the ratio between different components. And we can extrude in the pellets for the final extrusion in the single screw, and also we can extrude with a flat fine die for a film manufacturing in the case of the solid state electrolytes. So our purpose in CIC is to develop a multi-purpose prototyping platform which could deal with low amount of material for dealing with different technologies like lithium sulfur, sodium-based technologies, supercapacitor or hybrid supercapacitors, many different, as much as possible technologies, and different design of cells, because there is different demands from the final user in terms of devices composition, like a pouch cell or cylindrical cell, and also in the last year, flexible cells or flexible batteries for Internet of Things or wearables. So our idea is try to be as flexible as possible and try to support as many activities as possible. But again, for a unique or for only one pilot plan is very difficult to find a way to support both coma slot tie, cylindrical, pouch cell, lithium deposition by sputtering or other methodology. So become part of this network is really interesting for us because they will provide also this kind of discussion and support each others in the European battery cell manufacturing. So finally, looking for the expectation from the pilot plan and from our point of view, it is really interesting to have a forum for really active cooperation between the most relevant European lithium battery cell pilot plants and support all the stakeholders of the battery sector, including industry and academia. Also, it's only, and some participants mentioned that we need to take care of the industrial collaboration and be very strict with the confidentiality from some companies that also require this in our collaboration. But for more standard or more internal development, we are open to share this with the network platform in order to speed a little bit and all the new development, all new materials that could also change with the nickel and cobalt batteries. So the main idea is to support the generation of a competitive battery cell manufacturing ecosystem, increasing the production battery cells in Europe in the next years with the new building of gigafactories. Look for synergies between already established technologies to try to adapt for the new battery system or new materials, and so that we can speed up the new technologies and do it faster transfer for industrial scale. Generates the knowledge and data generation towards advanced manufacturing and digitalization. I mean, all the models, the best you can fit the models, the more accurate will be. So we believe that if we share this data in all the pilot plan after a really round robin test and really knowing that we are talking about the same issues, the same parameters and the same processes, it is good. I think it's good to share this data to fit this digital modeling and speed up also the final developments. Also, thinking in the standardization is good to know, as my previous speaker was mentioning in the round robin, we need to talk always about the same. And sometimes when you read literature on when you want to compare some different technologies, it's difficult because not all the data are balanced or in the same terms. So standardization is also good for new developments. Quality assurance from the point of view of not only on the raw materials, but also from the point of view of different process in the battery manufacturing, because nowadays the final yield in the factories comparing to other processes, more industrial processes, is low. And I think this kind of network will increase the quality assurance of the processes and for the transfers to the industry. Also support industry with the trainings, generating qualifying employees in cell manufacturing. And for the point of view of safety, of course, generating protocols for working dry environments and material handling procedures and how to store it and transport raw materials, cells, and battery packs. And of course, long-term effects of drying condition in the medical surveillance that we already have started in our pilot line in CIC EnergiGUNE, but the sample and the number of samples is very low. So we think that if we work all together in this kind of activities also will also be profitable in terms of safety issues. So this is a little bit the point of view of pilot plan. And if you have any question, just feel free to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aitor. Thank you. I think it was very very interesting and very also supporting really the purpose of the network. So thanks again for your testimony. We got one question in the Q&A box, but not sure this one is addressed only to you, but maybe you can share your opinion on this one. When looking for new developments, new technologies, do you take into account the availability and the degree of recovery of the chemical elements? So dealing, for example, with critical raw material resilience, which is used and so on. And these questions come from Antje Wittenberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as I was mentioning, my group is mainly focused on designing of the cell, designing of the process, and how the new materials could be processability in terms of final scaling up. But always the design is also considering the final or the recovering of the material. This is something that we still include in the new design of new developments. And behind our group, there is different groups working on different new or novel materials that could substitute in the future nowadays lithium-ion batteries. But again, some KPIs or some application requirements are really hard to fulfill all of them in a short time. But yeah, we are working on that from point of view of designing new materials, and also from the point of view of the design of the devices and the processes.
Okay. Okay, thanks again. I'm afraid we have to move on. So I would propose now to have a quick presentation by Dimitra Maleka from EIT Innoenergy on what are the different training sessions which are currently under development, really in the frame of this LiPLANET network. So Dimitra.
Thank you very much, Philip. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Excellent, thank you. So yes, my name is Dimitra Maleka. I work as a project manager within battery storage education at the EIT Innoenergy, and I will briefly present to you the training sessions that are currently under development within LiPLANET. EIT Innoenergy has the role within LiPLANET to facilitate trainings around lithium-ion cell manufacturing, so to ensure there is knowledge transfer within the network. And these trainings are for engineers, researchers, but also other interested stakeholders. In order to reach in the topics, to identify the topics for these trainings, we started first by identifying in the beginning of the year the skills and knowledge gaps. And we did this through a survey, but also through interaction within the consortium with a number of experts. After this conclusion, we started defining the topics, and right now we're at the stage where experts are developing the content, and these trainings are expected to be delivered within October to December. I will try to keep it short for the time. A lot of experts within the consortium are involved for these trainings, and because of the pandemic, we decided, because of the unclarity, we decided to have all the trainings in a virtual environment. Some of them will be live via Zoom, and some of them will be made into video lessons. To quickly go through these trainings, we will have a virtual session on cell design and electrode manufacturing, so to deep dive into each step of the process. We will have two different sessions on digital skills in battery manufacturing, with the ultimate goal to show how digitalization can enable a more efficient battery production. We will have a group of sessions on modeling and simulation of cells, with the first one starting on the fundamentals of electrochemical modeling for lithium-ion batteries, providing the basic understanding on the modeling of electrochemical cells. And then the second part would be more on how to use models for battery design, prediction of lifetime, performance of batteries. But these all will be complemented with video lessons 4 video lessons within electrode manufacturing, each of these showing different step-by-step the process from within a pilot line from CITETEC. We will have also a video on the simulation of cells, again introducing why a simulation of cells, how it can help in certain areas, and of course a final video on the battery production process, introducing the process and the main steps. I try to keep it very short for the time, but if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Dimitra, and thank you for making it really in a very short deadline. So I think we are close to the end now. I don't know if there are specific questions on the different training that Dimitra just introduced. So please, I think we can exceed by 5 minutes, so that's not an issue. So don't hesitate still to post your question if any. And while you are typing these questions, I propose that we move to the last remarks from Arno. And maybe before that, I will just address the question which is still open in the Q&A. So that a question coming from Chris Rudolph, who was asking what's our understanding of a supply chain scope we are looking at. For instance, how far upstream does your scope reach? Mr. Kwade mentioned pilot lines starting from cathode anode powder. So you don't look into EU capacities for lithium chemical, lithium hydroxide production, do you? And indeed, we are really focused on the manufacture of the cells, and really starting from let's say the advanced materials processing, more than really, and not going upstream up to the raw materials. So I think there are other projects and other initiatives who are really addressing these questions, especially from EIT Raw Materials and the Raw Materials Alliance, who are really looking at these aspects. And LiPLANET is more focused really on the manufacturing of the cells. Arno, if you want to comment or to share your view on this also, before giving your final words, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, thank you, Philip, and I think I fully agree. And I think the focus is really on the manufacturing of electrodes and cells. But clear, I mean, within especially the expert groups, we also have a look down and upstream, what happens with the cells afterwards, but also what is regarding the materials. And we are really discussing how we can have a close connection to pilot lines in let's say, material synthesis, or also recycling, or if we have to expand maybe the network at the end. But in the moment, really, we have this focus, and we are, let's say, in a increasing discussion with other lines who are upstream of the cell and electrode processing or production. And with it, maybe I come to the end. Let's say, so our vision, and then maybe a short final discussion, because we are more or less at really the end of our webinar. So I think we are in the moment in a really exciting stage and time. So it's a really dynamic time, and also dynamic for our network. So what we try to do, what is shown here on the right side, is really to expand our network further. And I think this question mark, for example, is now already a member, and I hope that we get much more members in the next months. And one thing what you have, or one part of the network, what you have seen already, is the expert groups that really discuss cutting edge topics. And I think what is, from my point of view, and also for the full board of LiPLANET, very important is that we will set operation standard, characterization standards within all the pilot lines, and at the end, let's say LiPLANET will be something like a stamp for European pilot line, so that there is a certain quality for cell and electrode production. And what we really, I think, could show today, hopefully, is that we bundle our competencies, and by that we can really provide a big variety of different technologies and competencies. And also by that we want to increase funding opportunities within the European-wide calls. And besides that, also what was just said in the last presentation, we are working on high-quality training programs. In the moment, more on the, let's say, using the internet and videos, but in the future, for sure, we will have also hand-on training programs within the lines. And we will work out a certain program so that high quality will be ensured. And also we have a good connection to the European Commission, or we're working on that at least. And I think also in the new calls, there were in several calls, or at least in 3 or 4 calls, there was LiPLANET is mentioned to be have a good cooperation with LiPLANET. I think we are getting a really important part of the European ecosystem. And what we want to do is especially also having a high level of knowledge transfer to all the different European stakeholders. So in industry, from machinery producers up to cell manufacturers and also end users. And not only by some webinars and training programs, but also by conferences like this International Battery Manufacturing Days or the International Battery Production Conference. And I think there will be more in this direction. So at the end, everybody, I think, is welcome to participate, at least in the expert groups, and especially all the pilot lines are really invited to be a member then of the network, and you are all also invited to take part in future webinars and other events we will have within LiPLANET. And from my side, that is many thanks for taking part also until the end, but maybe there are some questions I could also answer if you want.
Well, actually, we got one additional question, and which is addressed to I think to you or Dimitra regarding the training sessions. The question was whether these sessions are going to be free, and will they be published on the web page of LiPLANET or not?
I think Dimitra can maybe say it in a more precise way. Is she still there?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry, I was muted. They will be free, yes. And we are now deciding where it will be published actually. So it has not been yet defined, but I'm sure we will communicate it as soon as we have this information.
Of course.
Yes, thank you, Dimitra, because I didn't also know.
Okay. So I think we are now at the end of this session. So I would like also on my side to thank all the people who attended this for really the interest that was shown on your side is really very encouraging to us. And so thanks again for your time and for joining today. And if you want to be kept up to date and updated on the upcoming events and progress of the network, please go on the LiPLANET website, where you can really subscribe to be informed of any news on the initiative. So thanks again, everybody, and I wish you a great day. Bye bye. And a great summertime for those who will be leaving in the coming weeks. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks to all presenters. Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Have a nice rest of the day.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you.